The draft grabs your bumper before you even know whose car this is. The engine noise flattens into a single pressure wave, the wall blurring past at a distance that leaves no room for error, and the pack tightens like a fist around the car. One mistake here doesn't just cost a race, it costs a season. Then, silence. A hard cut before any name, track, or number is revealed. That car belongs to Shane Van Gisbergen, the Kiwi Supercars champion turned trackhouse racing star. The scene is Daytona International Speedway, the final race of the regular season, the one that decides whether an entire year of racing means something or nothing. Weeks before this weekend, team owner Justin Marks had already flagged exactly this kind of danger. Whether that warning was ordinary caution or an early read on what was coming is the question this story sets out to answer. Rewind to North Wilkesboro. SVG started 8th, took the lead from Denny Hamlin on lap 52, and closed out a career-best 5th-place oval finish. It was, by any measure, the strongest oval performance of his Cup Series career to that point. Justin Marks didn't hold back afterward. "That's the best work I've seen you do since you started at Trackhouse." The result put SVG 54 points above the cut line, and that cushion carried him into Iowa, Richmond, and New Hampshire. Around the sport, the conversation had started shifting. SVG was no longer being framed as a road course specialist catching lucky ovals, but as a genuine playoff threat heading into the stretch run. Marks captured that mood directly. His confidence is through the roof, and I like our chances. On that note, NASCAR Insider TV is closing in on 1,500 subscribers, and if you're finding value in breakdowns like this one, subscribing helps push that number over the line before the next upload. That optimism came with a footnote attached from the very start. Even sitting on a 57-point cushion at the time, Marks refused to call the position safe. "We're 50-something points up, which is a decent amount of points, but by no means comfortable. It can go away in one race." The caution wasn't reflexive, it was structural, tied directly to how the sport now determines its playoff field. NASCAR scrapped the win-and-you're-in system this year entirely. The new format runs strictly on the top 16 in points after race 26, with no shortcuts, no automatic bids, and no safety net. Just accumulation and survival across every single week. Marks tied the warning to execution, describing what the team needed as nothing less than flawless racing, race after race, with zero room for the kind of mistakes that eat into a cushion fast. He said it could go away in one race. Nobody thought it would almost be true within a matter of weeks. New Hampshire Motor Speedway turned that warning from theory into arithmetic. Conditions were wet and unpredictable throughout the event. SVG finished 20th. Ryan Preece finished 9th. The 57-point cushion evaporated in a single afternoon, replaced by a 31-point gap, and the driver behind SVG was no longer chasing open air, he was chasing him directly, race by race, point by point. The standings tightened into a three-way pressure chamber almost overnight. Austin Cindric sat 15th, 44 points clear of the cut line. SVG held the final transfer spot at 16th, 31 points above the cut. Ryan Preece sat 17th, 31 points behind SVG, first man out of the field entirely. One driver was defending a spot, one was hunting it, and one was simply trying not to get pulled backward into a fight that wasn't his to begin with. The moment the race order flipped, the shift was already being tracked live. New leader at New Hampshire, Shane Van Gisbergen, was the headline before it unraveled late in the run. By the time the checkered flag fell, the number that spread fastest wasn't the finishing order, it was the gap itself. Van Gisbergen plus 31, Ryan Blaney. The cushion Marks once called not comfortable had shrunk into something that now looked genuinely dangerous heading into the final race. Daytona is the worst possible venue to need a safety margin of any size. A driver can do everything right for 150 laps and still lose it all in 3 seconds flat. The dangers are specific and well documented. A push that lands at the wrong moment, a block that closes one lane too late, a multi-car pileup that swallows cars that did nothing wrong to deserve it. There is no guarantee the fastest driver survives the day. There is no guarantee the best strategy survives the day. There is no guarantee a 31-point cushion survives the day. Inside Trackhouse, that reality creates a genuine strategic dilemma with no clean answer. Aggressive racing risks the wreck that ends the season in one single motion. Passive racing risks isolation, and Daytona punishes any driver without reliable drafting partners around him. There is no safe play available here, only a series of calculated gambles. Does SVG race hard for stage points early? Does he ride in the pack and simply hope for the best? Does Trackhouse sacrifice a teammate's own day to shield him from trouble? Does he end up trusting the wrong car in the draft at exactly the wrong moment? None of those questions have answers yet, and none of them will until the green flag actually drops. Strip away the points math, and this becomes a psychological contest between a hunter and a defender. SVG isn't racing simply to beat Preece outright. He only has to keep Preece from closing the gap, which is a fundamentally more fearful way to drive a superspeedway race. A driver chasing a spot has nothing left to lose and can take risks freely, lap after lap. A driver defending a spot has to calculate every single move against what it costs if it goes wrong. Preece raised the stakes on his own side of this fight heading into New Hampshire, describing what his team needed as a home run, a phrase that framed both Preece and RFK Racing as racing with total desperation, and total desperation tends to make a driver more dangerous to whoever is running just ahead of him. Cindric, meanwhile, sits just ahead of both men, not fighting for his own survival in this fight, but fully capable of becoming the accidental variable that changes everyone else's math in an instant. Fear doesn't show up anywhere on a stat sheet, but it changes how a driver breaks into turn 3 when everything is on the line. Zoom out, and this single race is carrying far more than one playoff spot on its shoulders. SVG arrived in NASCAR as a Supercars champion, carrying outsized expectations from the very start of his Cup Series career. Every road course win only deepened the surrounding question of whether he's a complete Cup Series driver or simply a specialist. A chase berth would prove something very specific here, not that he can win isolated races on his terms, but that he can survive an entire grinding season under a brutal new points format. Missing it would trigger a different conversation entirely across the garage, whether his flashes of brilliance were masking real inconsistency in point accumulation, and whether Trackhouse's aggressive bet on him as a franchise driver was mistimed from the start. The Marks quote sits directly at the center of either outcome, waiting to be recontextualized one way or the other. If SVG misses the chase, by no means comfortable, becomes the line everyone points back to as the warning that went unheeded. If he makes it through, that same quote becomes proof that Marks read the danger correctly and helped his driver survive it in time. There is no middle version of this story available. It resolves one way or the other, and nobody watching right now knows which. Back in the cockpit, the draft grabs the bumper again, exactly as it did at the very start. The wall blurs past at the same unforgiving distance it always has. One race, one green flag, one 31-point cushion that recent history says can vanish in a matter of seconds. Does SVG walk into the new format chase as proof that Trackhouse's gamble on him worked? Or does Daytona turn Justin Marks' warning into the most talked-about prediction of the entire NASCAR season? Justin Marks saw the danger before the standings made it obvious. Now the entire garage finds out whether that warning was caution or a prophecy. If you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next. Comment and share this video, and let us know in the comments where you think SVG finishes at Daytona.